My name is Bill Hanley, referred to as Coach Hanley by most of the kids because I coached Dr. Jones's kids in high school. So when I came here, he introduced me as Coach Hanley. And a funny story with that is I said, that's fine, Dr. Jones, except when Coach Gibbs is on campus. There's only one coach, and that is Coach Gibbs. But I've been here for 18 years.
Well, Coach, what brought you here? Tell us a little bit about your background before we talk about some of the stories of YFT.
Okay, I was in Fairfax County Public Schools for 31 years as a teacher, coach, administrator. And like I had said, I coached Dr. Jones's kids, and I knew that this place existed, but I'd only been out here one time, and that was in 1988, I believe. And it was toward the end of my career, and 31 years, and my wife kept asking, when are you going to retire and go get another job? So I checked that all out, called Dr. Jones immediately, and I said, Dr. Jones, do you have anything available out at the youth home? He said, Coach, come on out, we'll make room for you. So at that point, I knew I was welcomed. I retired in April of 2004, and I started here July 1.
Wow, what was your biggest adjustment coming from the Fairfax County Public Schools to this specific type of facility?
The biggest adjustment was trying to start athletic teams. And it's very hard, and I keep telling the kids even today that it's hard to have athletic teams if your own kids don't get along with each other. Because if we're fighting with each other, we can't go out in the community and play against another team, or we'll never be able to play that team again. And sooner or later, you run out of people to play. So they agreed with that, and we haven't had teams in the last few years, but I'm not ruling that out for the future. Now, I don't know what my future is, but I love what I'm doing. So there's no sense just sitting home in a lazy boy all day long.
Why do you love it?
I love being around kids. I've always loved being around kids and teaching kids. And I was influenced by my PE teacher when I was in high school. And he was the baseball coach, he was the basketball coach, and he was the football coach and the athletic director. And I said, you know what? I want to teach, I want to coach until I'm 70. Well, I'm past that and still going. And I just love being around kids.
Biggest adjustment, biggest thing you had to deal with this type of facility where you have kids from all over and just having to deal with them on a daily basis. What are some of the struggles you had?
Trust. Trust. I mean, it's very important to have relationships. You need to build relationships. They just don't happen. You need to build them. We're working with kids who don't basically trust anyone. You know, a lot of them have been on their own, they're making their own decisions, and they're not going to listen to somebody unless you've built that trust.
There was a teacher here, a gym teacher, Mr. Hanley, on our very first day of gym class, on my very first week here. He introduced himself and he wanted to be friendly and cordial, and I was so stubborn and so angry just from being here, and I couldn't understand why. And he worked with me, and he worked with me. And then within a few months, him and I were like inseparable best buds. There's someone that showed me that unconditional love that I didn't know that I needed.
A lot of the kids have mentioned you, and when asked, I say kids, they're full-grown adults now, but when asked what is special about YFT, they mention the staff. What is your reaction to that, and why do you think they say that?
Very much so. The staff, in order to really work here, you have to, like I said, build relationships. But you have to come back every day. They've had a lot of people turn their backs on them. And so when we go home for a weekend or we go home for the day, they're questioning whether or not we're coming back or not. You know, because, or is that the last time I've seen them? You know, so trust is very important with these kids. And respect also, you know.
Yeah, I want to relate a story. One of the alums, Justin McCauley, told me not too long ago that when he came to YFT, he met you and you were nice to him. He didn't know why. He didn't understand why you were being nice to him. And over time, your being nice to him turned you guys into best buds to this day. How does that make you feel? And do you have any memories of him?
He's very special. He's come back several times, and we've met up in the hall and up in the office. And when he first came, he was one of those that really didn't want to listen to anyone. And at that time, I was also teaching PE here. So I had him in class, and we were doing a wiffle ball unit, because obviously you can't hit balls inside the gym. And so we were doing the unit, and he kept swinging and missing and swinging and missing. So I took the ball, and I said, Justin, just watch the ball. So he all the way into that far from him, and all of a sudden it's like, get out of my face. What are you doing up there? You tell me what to do. I can hit the ball. And I just sort of backed off. But, you know, it's those things. He had never really had anyone coach him either. You know, so, you know, that's all it is talking with the kids, respecting them like you expect to be respected.
Yeah, he's successful now. What are your feelings of pride like and what are your feelings of pride in a lot of the kids who you knew grew up to become very successful people?
I don't think I could be any prouder. I mean, I treat all these kids like they're my children, and I'm proud of my children. And these kids come back, and it's like they haven't changed at all. I still picture them the way they looked back then. And most of them do look that way. I might not, but they do.
Coach, how have the kids changed? I know they're basically the same kids, but some of the problems have changed in society nowadays. How have you seen that change, and how has the staff had to adjust?
Well, drugs are off the chart. And these kids have been involved in a lot of drugs, a lot of bad decisions, and we're just trying to help them make the right decisions. And that's all we ask of them. Just try to think before you react. And the staff does an outstanding job of that. We have little corners in each classroom where if they're for some reason having flashbacks or they're not feeling well, they can go into the corner where it's quiet. And we got little fidget games and things that they can keep their hands busy. But right now, there's a lot of drugs, there's a lot of self-harm, which I was never a part of in Fairfax County. Yeah. Never exposed to any of that. And that was hard. Mental health issues was really never exposed to that, even though you and I both had kids in our classes years and years ago that we thought maybe had some mental problems, but they weren't identified.
Yeah. You know, your career here kind of has ran side by side with Pastor Denny, and Dr. Jones has been here, obviously, from the beginning. For you, who are some of the staff members who might have mentored you and you might have mentored, because you've been here a while?
Well, Dr. Jones is one. Pastor Denny is another. And we had a gentleman by the name of Willie Washington who worked over on both wings with the kids, crisis management. And he also was very knowledgeable in trades. He worked in Fairfax County Schools in trades. So he would have these kids building things. And, you know, Willie's a good man. I mean, so those three. Phyllis, yep. You know, at lunch, I mean, you know, a lot of stories there. And, you know, Sandy Overman has been here a long time, so.
What are some words of wisdom, Coach, you can pass on for people who might have kids that are having some problems? Some of the kids that you have helped along the way, you're very familiar with the problems. Maybe some words of wisdom to parents, or maybe even kids that might watch this and say, you know, I'm struggling.
The key there is communication. You have to be able to talk back and forth, and you have to be able to talk freely back and forth. You can't try to put on them what you want. You got to work it out together. But they have to know what's important to you, and you need to know what's important to them. But communication has been the key forever. And it seems like we've got a lack of that now because of cell phones, video games, and everything else. The kids are closed in on just themselves.
It's a great observation. And again, as one of the senior members of this staff, the male figure in a lot of these kids' lives has been missing. And a lot of them look to you, Dr. Jones, the pastors here, as filling that role. That's something obviously you were prepared for, weren't you?
Yes, yes. I've tried to do that my whole career, my whole life, in 31 years in Fairfax County and coaching several sports. I mean, that's what we're here for. We're here to be the role models for the kids. And when I came, Dr. Jones said to me, you're going to be the role model to the staff. You might not know that, but you will, coming from another county school system. You handle things a little bit differently because you've been involved with those. You know, just as much, just coming down to the shirt. I mean, you know, he knows I don't like ties.